I'm Chef Leroy, and this is my assistant Louie. Louie, say hi to the camera. So today we are going to make a tortellini. We have a 5-cheese tortellini. We got it from Costco. I have roasted red peppers, which I also got from Costco. It's a very decorative jar. We have some yellow and red roasted peppers in there. Some garlic, Parmesan, mushrooms, and some cream. We have some onion, a little bit of yellow pepper, and some asparagus. So the sauce is going to be a roasted pepper cream with asparagus and mushroom added. We'll have our tortellini later. We'll go ahead and show you how to cook that. And I also have salmon that I want to accompany this meal with. This is our Mondays, right, Louie? And we cook together. Can you shake? Louie, shake. Good boy. Okay, Louie assists me every time we cook on Mondays. This is our family meal, right? And you sample all the things and make sure they're okay. So we'll get started. I'll get my pan out and we'll get the show rolling. Okay, so I've got my items assembled here. I have my pan to cook my sauce in with my mushrooms and asparagus and my peppers and onion. But one thing I'm going to do before I get started, I'll cut my vegetables up. So first thing I want to do is I'm going to add some oil to my pan. We're going to put a couple, Louie back. I'm going to put a couple tablespoons in there. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut up my onion. Okay, I'm going to add it to my pan. I'm going to do things in some stages here because I'm going to use my pressure cooker as well to steam off my asparagus. So I'll throw the onion in there. Okay, so I have my red onions cut. They're in the pan. And I've got my yellow pepper. You can use whatever color yellow pepper you have, or whatever color pepper you like. So tortellini is kind of big. If you look here, move the asparagus. They're about that big around roughly. So I want my vegetables to be somewhere kind of close to that size, or just a little less. Doesn't really matter, but you don't want your vegetables to be bigger than your pasta, at least in this case. So throw my yellow pepper in my pan. Okay, so we're going to take our mushrooms, which are already sliced. Yes, you can get your own mushrooms and slice them and do all that, but sometimes I like to cut corners, so now we're going to hit it with some garlic. Well, I'm doing a cream sauce, so I don't really want to do much garlic. I don't want it to be too overpowering, so we're going to just use about a tablespoon of fresh garlic. There, fresh minced garlic. I'm just going to let this kind of sit for a minute, because what I'm going to do next, I'm going to go ahead and get my asparagus going in my pressure cooker, okay? So before I do that, here's my pan. Put some water in the bottom. Probably about 3 cups of water or so. And in the pressure cooker we go, okay? I have this little bottom screen that goes in the bottom that holds the steamer part of it up off the water. Okay? Now this stuff will cook really quick in there. So probably within about 5 minutes. I'll probably set it at 5. So I like to cut it so I have the nice tops in there, okay? And again, I'm going to cut it about the size of this other vegetable that I have here. Here's my asparagus and here's my yellow squash, okay? So, and yeah, I could saute it with this as well, but what I like to do is go ahead and blanch it first. It comes out a little better. Now, my stems are one thing I'm going to save, because you can make a really good soup with your stems. So I'm going to put them in a container and save them for another time when to cook. So let's go. Now, do I know when do I stop cutting asparagus? Well, asparagus gets really woody toward the end, right? So one way to tell, and which I usually use a knife just to cut down to a certain amount, but the other way is to go ahead and press on it and see it pop. Where it pops is this is the woodiest part of the asparagus, and this is all very nice and soft. Okay. Hey Louie, guess what? I dropped a piece over here. Come on over here. Come over here. think a piece, dropped a piece of asparagus down there. Yep. Okay, so asparagus in my steamer pot, in the pressure cooker, top on the pressure cooker. Again, you can go ahead and you could cook it in there too as well, but I'm going to do it in my pressure cooker. I think I'm going to set it for only 3 minutes. Asparagus is pretty soft. We are going to turn on our pan, turn it up on high and get it going. So that's the beginning of that part. Asparagus is cooking. So one of the next things we'll do is we'll make our sauce, which will be partially an Alfredo. We're going to make an Alfredo basically from scratch, which is this stuff here. But we're going to use some roasted red pepper, okay? So that'll be our combination of how we're doing it, okay? So, there we're bullet, peppers. And one thing I have is some dried oregano, which is from my garden, okay? So we're going to use some dried oregano in there. Smells really good. I have some dried basil. This is not from my garden. My basil this year kind of froze before I could get too much of it out of there and dry it, so I've got some jarred dried basil from the store. About a tablespoon in there. Go ahead and slide some of the roasted peppers in there. I really like the bullet. These things are just so awesome. Well, you can hear our pan sizzling away there, Louis. You hear it? Yeah? Okay. Get just a little bit more. Get that in. Put our blade on top. Now, shake it up so we can get all the herbs mixed in. Okay, so we've pureed it down a little bit. So we have it down now, and we can actually add a little bit more. But what I want to do, before I do that part, I want to actually add a tomato. So I have one of these vine-ripe tomatoes, which is a Bushel Boy, which is a local company here in Minnesota. I'm going to wash it off, and we're going to put that in there, and puree that off too. Sauce is cooking nicely. Put the stem off. Louis likes the stem, so he can eat that. There you go, buddy. Want another one? Get some more. There you go. Okay. Back on. And now we have a complete sauce. So this is part of our base. And there we go. Nice. Does that cook? So this is pretty much set up. So the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and add this sauce to it. Okay. We're going to turn it down to low. We don't want it to burn. We want it to cook, but we don't want it to burn. Okay. Okay. So we're going to let all this stuff cook together. Okay. I'm going to put the cover on. Glass cover. Our timer just went off for our pressure cooker. So we're going to open up the pressure valve, let the pressure up, and we're going to see where our asparagus is at this point. Sauce is cooking very nicely, as you can see right here. We're going to let it cook down. I want this to get a little bit on the thicker side. Although once we add our cream, we're going to let it reduce a little bit too with the 5 cheese tortellini, Kirkland. It says ready in about 2 minutes. Oh boy, they're done. Nice and soft. Woo! Okay, so with my asparagus, because it's fully cooked, I'm literally going to add this at the end. Okay, when I put in the tortellini, I'll add this asparagus. So in reality, it's probably almost overcooked. But this is the first time I've ever steamed asparagus in my pressure cooker. So it probably only needed to be in there for about 2 minutes. But it's still really good. We'll let it cool down. It'll be fine. So I have my other pot right here. I'm gonna fill it up with water. We're gonna bring it to a boil, drop the tortellini in it. Okay, so one of the things I'll do next, and I usually stage food all the time for our meals on Monday. I typically get everything kind of ready to go, so when my wife shows up from work, boom, I throw it all together and I assemble it. So what I'll do is I'm gonna cook off my tortellini. I'm just gonna pre-cook it and then cool it down a little bit. And I have my sauce. I've moved it over to my other part of the stove over here. It's still kind of cooking. I don't have the cream or the parm in there yet, but I will. But I'm bringing this pan up to a boil and we'll get our pasta going. Okay, my water is boiling. I covered it to help it boil quicker. That's what you want to do when you're trying to boil pasta. So we are going to add the tortellini to the water. Careful, because it will splash. Careful, Louis. Careful. So I'm going to cook the whole package off. When I cook for the family, I tend to cook big. Okay. What I do is I cook enough for us to last us part of the week. So we have meals for, a few days of the week, and then everybody's happy. Okay. So I'm going to stir this up. You don't want to break them apart when they're in the package. What happens then if you break them up, they'll break. You'll actually break the pasta, and you don't want them to leak because they have cheese in them. All right, so we have that in the pot. We'll go ahead and put the cover back on for a second just to get it back up to a boil. We're going to set our timer for 2 minutes. So again, pastas, you don't want to boil these hard. That's the one thing. You can bring the water back up to a boil, but it does recommend on the package whenever you're doing ravioli or tortellini, these kind of things, you want to cook them on a slower boil. You don't want to cook them too hot. More like a simmer, I guess it would probably put it that way. What I did before, I don't usually put oil in my pasta, but I did on this one. It helps to kind of coat them because I'm pre-cooking this. So what I'll do is once they're done, I'm going to put them in through a strainer. I'll cool it down and have it ready for later. What then I'll do is I'll take that out and I'll put it into my hot sauce, which is cooking over in this pan here. The next thing I'll do once my tortellini is done, which basically says it should be done here in about a second here. I don't think they're done yet though, because it didn't really come back up to a boil, so it'll cook a little bit more. You can check them too. Typically what I'll do is I'll take one out and I'll try the edge of one to see if they're chewy or not. If they're still chewy, then it's not done. So we'll let this go because it wasn't really up to a boil either. So put the cover back on. So cooking is about there's temperatures and time measurement and things like this. Most of it's common sense really though. It may say 2 minutes on the package. It might take longer. So, recipes are kind of guidelines and they're tools to help you, but basically you just have to use a little bit of your own common sense on when to check and when to know these things are ready. And that's the key to this stuff. Okay, so one thing you can do with the tortellini to check it is take one out and you can kind of feel it. I'm gonna cover over. Just put it on your cutting board. I haven't even brought this up to a boil. It's basically not even quite to a simmer, but these are already basically done. I can tell you by just cutting it open, and then actually try it. They're basically right on the money. You just now al dente. You don't want to cook them too long because I'm going to actually cook them in the sauce too. So we don't want to overcook our pasta. Okay, I'm going to turn that off. We're going to put them in our strainer. But I'll put it back in the strainer, or back in my pot, like that. And then I'll run cold water on it. Cool down with some cold water. And now what I'll do is I'll move my sauce over to this side. And now, I'll show you what it looks like here. So I've let this reduce down quite a bit. I mean, you can actually see it's kind of a little bit of a thicker looking sauce. So we're going to add our, it's hot right now because this is an old stove. It's an electric stove, and you know, one thing about electricity, like this type of stoves, they don't cool down right away. So I just had the other part of it on high doing my tortellini, so it's still pretty hot. So we're going to go ahead and add our heavy cream. 1 pint is 2 cups. Sorry. This is 5 ounces of shredded parm. Doesn't matter what brand. This is Crystal Farms. You can use whatever kind you like. So now we'll just let this simmer. Okay, again, I have everything staged. So I've just cooled my tortellini down. It's not totally cold. It's basically down to about close to room temperature. So I'm just going to keep this off to the side. So go ahead and put a cover over the top so it doesn't dry out. And we'll wait till a little bit later to add it to our sauce. Sauce is cooking nicely. So now we'll just let this cook down. And we'll wait until everybody's ready and we'll throw it all together. Okay, let's try it. Let's taste a little bit. Let's taste a little bit of sauce, okay? Gotta cool it down for a little bit. How is it? Is that good? Is it good? Huh? Is it good? Wag your tail. Wag your tail. You don't wagging your tail. How is it? You like it? I think he likes it. Anyway, that's it for now, and we'll come back to this and complete the whole dish. Okay, one thing I want to show you when it comes to making an Alfredo. Basically, this is an Alfredo with other items mixed with it. I'm going to take some of the juice, the sauce, and I'm going to combine it with a couple of egg yolks. And this helps to give it really good body. So we're going to separate our white from our yolk. Okay. You don't have to, it doesn't matter if you get all of it. Just want most of it. And I'm only going to do 2 eggs. Okay. So we'll separate that out. I don't use any fancy separating devices, I just use my fingers. So I'll rinse them off. That's the egg yolk. This really gives the sauce a really nice body. It also helps thicken it a little bit, okay? So we're going to take a little bit of the sauce out. And we're just going to add a little bit of it at a time to temper the eggs. Put it in too fast, you scramble them. So we don't want to scramble our eggs. So we just want to temper them. I don't have this pan on very hot either. I've kind of turned things down a little bit. And again, one thing you want to make sure is that you're stirring this regularly. So we'll do that. Okay, a little bit more. We got it already kind of warm, so we can add more. Just a little bit more. Doesn't matter if you get some of the onion and some of the stuff in there. Try to keep most of it just sauce, so it's easier to mix, and then add it. And now what will happen is the yolk will cook into the sauce, and it'll help thicken it up a little bit, and give it a little body, and a really nice flavor. So I'm going to just stir that in really quick. I mean, if I was just doing it from start to finish quickly, like just boom, 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 it probably would be, you know, it's probably a 30-minute meal. I really like to add the egg yolk to it. It just helps to add so much really good flavor to it. Okay, so our sauce is pretty much ready to go here. I just let it cook down nice and slow. I'm going to add this tortellini to it. So the tortellini can start to warm up so we can eat it. Now remember, there's quite a bit of tortellini here. You probably only need to use half a package, but I like to cook extra so we have extra food for the week. And I cook for 3 people, so we have some of this tonight, and then we'll have some leftovers for the week as well. Go ahead and add our asparagus to it, and we'll put the cover on it and let it all warm together. we go. Basically a tortellini with a roasted red pepper Alfredo with a little bit of mushroom and asparagus. And we will accompany that with our salmon, which is right here. I'm going to put this back in the oven in a little bit. Put it back up. Basically, I usually wait till my wife comes home and I'll get it all started. So this here will just get nice and warm. I'll make sure you continue to stir it as you go, and here you go. So meal is done.